Hi everyone, welcome to another Overwatch analysis video. My name is Jeff, and today I'm going to be talking about the Boston Uprising. Ever since their roster announcement in October, Boston's kind of been a big question mark for most of the followers of the Overwatch League. Finally, after week 1 of OWL, we get to see that a little glimpse of how this roster functions. I wanted to talk about Boston for a couple of reasons. First of all, before the season began, everyone thought that Boston was going to be a bottom-feeding team. Myself included. But Boston has defied these expectations, proving once again that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. For that reason, I find them really interesting, but I think they're also kind of a case study on how to integrate Koreans into a otherwise Western roster and find success. But before I want to continue, just a heads up, massive spoilers are coming. Before the season began, there was the preseason, but unfortunately it went by really quickly and didn't really show us anything substantial about a lot of the teams. But Boston did okay. Casper and Striker both looked like strong DPS players, but ultimately we didn't get to really see enough games to form any opinions. And in the weeks after preseason leading up to OWL, there was this episode of Oversight released that focused on player predictions for the first few weeks of OWL. Montecristo and Thorin, of course, the usual hosts, interviewed a bunch of players and journalists and casters and all of that stuff. And one interesting little tidbit I picked up from that episode that was kind of heard over and over and over from all these different players was Boston is really good. And, with that being the only thing I really had to go off of, I was like, all right, maybe I can start getting hyped for this Boston team. And honestly, after week 1, the hype is true. NYXL and Mayhem were both teams that Boston faced in the first weekend, and Boston managed to go 1-1 respectively, having a great showing against NYXL even though they lost, and having an even better showing against Florida Mayhem, which they won. But I mainly want to focus on the New York Excelsior matchup, as that's the one that really shows off Boston's strengths and struggles clearly. So what makes Boston stand out from other teams in the Overwatch League? The first thing I want to mention is their coordination between the DPS and the tanks. Casper, Kalios, Striker, Gamsu, they work like a hive mind. They're just a great unit that consistently was forcing out targets like Sabiobi or Jonak from the rest of their team. They were getting separated, they were getting zoned, they were getting killed, and that's because Gamsu and Kalios in particular are really smart tank players. They know where to push the enemy, so that Casper and Striker can get in there and start doing work with their really, sick DPS skills. And that's not easy against a team that has tanks like Meko or Mono or Janus. These are great tanks. They know how to create space. And the fact that Kalios and Gamsu were able to find these opportunities to create areas where Striker and Casper were able to go in, and these were tiny opportunities. This requires really sick coordination, because if you get in there and you don't have Casper immediately following up, or you don't have Striker immediately following up, the opportunity's gone. NYXL is going to regroup. They're going to get their supports in there to heal. They're going to get their tanks, to pull back and pressure the DPS. And so the coordination was really awesome to watch. A specific example that I just was thinking of was on Boston's first attack on Horizon Lunar Colony. Excelsior was playing this really strong anti-dive composition on the high ground. And so Gamsu and Kalios drived straight in to NYXL. And what they did was they kind of literally just pushed Sabiobi and Libero off of the high ground. And Dreamcasper and Striker were both underneath that little catwalk. And as soon as Sabiobi dropped down, Dreamcasper was on him. He killed him, reset, killed Libero, and then Kalios and Striker, I think, took out Jonak in the background. And so what this does is when Boston gets a fight where they get a clean engage, the cleanup is always there. It's going to be a clean fight if Gamsu and Kalios manage to separate someone out from the other team. The second strength of Boston that I really wanted to focus on was their ability to adapt. NYXL's first attack on Lunar Colony comes to mind. They played this really strong anti-dive thing with Lucio, Moira, and Sombra as the core. And so what they did was they pushed with Lucio Boost into the Mega Room and hacked that health pack. So that they could quickly get Sombra's ultimate. And so they were just literally just camping in there, waiting for Sombra to harass, and get her ultimate up ready. And so what Boston did was they forced their way into that room and just, created an all-out brawl, which they lost because that's literally what the whole composition of NYXL was meant to do. And so Boston, going into the next round, into the next attack, what they did was, instead of giving up that Mega Room early, they sent Kalios and Striker to hide in there and set up an ambush with Gamsu and Dream Casper sitting on the high ground. So you had this 2-level ambush. And so when NYXL tried to Lucio Boost into the Mega Room, Kalios and Striker were already there, and Casper and Gamsu were dropping down onto the backline. Now, it didn't work because, and this is going to go into my next point, but Striker was peeking too early, which gave NYXL basically an idea of what was going on, so they were able to pull back, regroup, get entrenched, and then win the team fight as it was happening. The strategy was solid, the execution, the timing was off, and that was honestly frustrating for me to see. I was really sad when that happened. So that brings me to my next point, Boston's struggles. Uprising really had a hard time finding the right timing, the right opportunities to engage. And part of that's because NYXL is just a really strong team, and they don't give up any opportunities. They don't let you just get that nice little timing on your attacks. But one of the other reasons for this was because Boston was just taking too long to get their players into the right positions. One of the big things was after Boston took their first point on Horizon, they tried to snowball onto the second point. But Dream Casper was trying to find this Genji flank, which was important because he had his ultimate. He wanted to have backline access. However, when he was taking this time to find this flank, NYXL regrouped, and then they dived onto Kellex from Boston, took him out, and then Boston had no push. They didn't have a mercy anymore. And so Dream Casper took too long to find this flank, which gave NYXL all this time to find the room that they needed to stop the snowball. And, this also happened on Mbani because after Boston took the first point on Mbani, they were trying to snowball into the second point, just kind of completely skip that streets phase. However, misplay from Striker, he got taken out by a Diva Bomb from Meko, I think. It was either Meko or Mono, I can't remember. Those two players seem the same to me because their names both start with M. But he got taken out with a Diva Bomb, and so that caused him to respawn, and that completely wrecked the timing of Boston's attack, because then after he got back to the fight, Libero had his Junkrat ultimate, and he used that to further stall out Boston's attack. And so basically Boston kept getting into this vicious cycle where they were slightly mistiming all of their players being in position, which gave NYXL opportunities to further stall out that streets phase. And this is kind of like the Achilles heel of Boston. We saw this play out in different ways on all of the maps, which pretty much always ended up with NYXL losing, except in the case of Horizon Lunar Colony, where their time bank was just so big that it didn't really matter. But yeah, it's just one of those things where Boston, against stronger teams, that's going to be taken advantage of. But against weaker teams, they don't have the skill to do that. But the season is long, and there's, a lot of time for improvement. Boston has already improved a ton since the preseason. They've already shown that they have the ability to take maps off these top 3 teams. They have the ability to execute at a really high level. We just need to see more consistency. We need to see them get cleaner with their timing. They need to be cleaner with their execution. And can they, keep improving? Can they learn from these matches? That's what I want to see going forward. But already Boston has impressed me. Thank you all for watching. I just appreciate the support. If you want to follow me on Twitter or YouTube, that always helps. That's all I got for now. Thank you for watching.